Good afternoon, everybody. I guess it's still morning. We will begin today's media press conference with Assistant Coach Jay Lucas. If you have a question, please go ahead and raise your hand, and we will open it up to questions immediately. John Hale will open with you.
Hey, obviously the big news last night was Keon coming back. Just what are your expectations for him this weekend and how much he'll be able to play this Florida?
We're kind of just wait and see. He had a good practice yesterday. And it's hard because, he hasn't been necessarily practicing. He's been doing some conditioning and stuff like that. And then we're going right into at Florida. And I think this might have been his last game 10 months ago that he actually played was at Florida. So, I do think he'll get in a little bit in the game, and we'll just kind of go from there. But we're not expecting much from him. He hasn't played. He hasn't practiced. But, the one thing we're excited about just is his energy and his, it sounds crazy, but his kind of upperclassman leadership with him only being a sophomore but being one of the returning players to kind of help us with our poise a little bit.
Larry Vaught will go to you next, and then Jerry Tipton.
Yeah, Jay, could you also give kind of an injury update on what's going on with Terrence?
Terrence has been seeing the doctors, and he's been with medical staff, and, it's just something that he has to work through every day and continuing to get him to a place where he will be able to play and try to get him as pain-free as possible. The biggest thing right now is just getting him in the treatment that he needs, and he's in there every day, every morning, he's in there a lot. So he's doing what he needs to do, and we have a great medical staff and a great trainer. So I think the biggest thing is just getting to a point where he's able to, play through with as least pain as possible.
So you don't expect him to play Saturday?
I would say at this moment I don't think so. I think it's up in the air, but I would probably tend to say no.
Okay, thank you.
Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, Jay, I wonder also with Keon, it may be hard to quantify, but I wonder how far behind he is and how long do you think it would be until we'll see the Keon we're used to seeing from last season?
Well, he's done a good job of doing what he's been able to do while he had restrictions and stuff. So he's done conditioning, he's done, individual workouts and stuff like that. But it's different when it's 5-on-5 and in a game. It's so much harder to compare practice to a game and just the constant movement and transition from offense to defense to banging and stuff like that. So, hopefully it won't take as long as it typically does. You expect it to be a little bit quicker, but I think it'll take a while because we're into conference play, third conference game, and, we've played a bunch of games and he's kind of been out. So I think it'll take him a little bit to get his feet under him, as it would anybody.
And I wonder, with the events on Wednesday with the protesters storming the Capitol, I wonder if Coach Cal or anyone addressed that with the team, and if they did, what was the message you wanted to get across?
The biggest thing, Coach has done a good job of just letting the guys express their feelings and how they feel and, what's going through their mind and things like that. And that's something that, he gives them the ability to do. He always says it's a player's first program, and he really does run it that way. And he did a good job of listening to them and their concerns and their thoughts. And, that's the biggest thing is just having these open conversations to let them kind of express themselves. And I think we give them a safe place to do that.
Keith Farmer, we'll go to you next.
Can you hear me now, Coach?
Yes, I got you.
Yeah. So I'm just curious. I know you're with this program now, but what is it for you to be able to go back and, is this one of those games you kind of had circled to just enjoy along with trying to win a game?
No, it's not one of the games I got circled. Another one I really got circled. That'll probably be the tougher one at the end of the month. But this one is not as bad. It's a whole new staff there. I don't really, I know Coach White and some of the guys just from recruiting and stuff like that. But, it's really only one person, the trainer that was there when I was there. And, I kind of see myself more as a Texas alum because that's somewhere I graduated and stuff from. But Florida still does hold a place in my heart. But it's not, it's not the kind of same feeling as it would be going back to Texas or something like that.
And just curious what you see out of this particular Florida team.
You know, they're good. They got good guards. They do a good job of spreading the floor and trying to create, you know, mismatches in that sense of finding somebody they think they can attack. The big kid that transferred from Michigan, Colin Castleton, has been playing really good. So they've done a good job of getting him the ball. And, you know, I think a big thing for us is going to be, are we going to be able to guard the ball and stay in front in one-on-one defense? So we've just been preparing for that. And this is probably, you know, I haven't been in the league long, but I've watched Florida, you know, just with the connection there. That's probably one of their best defensive teams as well that I've seen them have in a while with some of the stuff they're doing defensively, switching and things like that. So, you know, I think it's a good challenge for us.
Okay, Kyle Tucker, we'll come to you next.
Yeah, Jay, you talked about some of the, you kind of laughed saying it as he's a sophomore who hasn't played at all this season, talking about the veteran leadership of Keon. What's something specific you saw him do before he could get on the floor with everybody? Especially, you know, Cal even said, I think at one point when you guys were struggling, that he started, you know, demonstrating some leadership then. What is something specific you've seen him do in that area?
It's just his demeanor and how he carries himself. You know, he walks it like he talks it. Things he says is what he does. And I think the guys kind of gravitate towards that. You know, he's a genuine person in that sense, and that's kind of what you need in your leaders. You know, so when he says something, everybody's quiet and they listen. And that's a big part of it. And I think it's just his approach. He comes in, he works every day, you know, does whatever you ask of him. Whatever you ask him to do, he will do. And I think a lot of people respect him for that. And I think that's why he kind of has a hold on the team, and they look at him as the leader. And, you know, he is the only returning player. So he's the only one who knows, you know, kind of what it's like to play for Cal and kind of what the program is about.
Okay, John Hale, we'll circle back to you.
Jay, it seems like a lot of the season, especially during the losing streak, Cal has been speaking to the fan base a little bit, trying to tell them to stay positive, support these guys. I'm curious from a recruiting standpoint, how much do you talk to recruits about the fan base and expectations? Is that something other schools try to use against you when there's negativity? Just how does it all work in recruiting? It seems like maybe that was an element to what Cal's trying to say right now.
It's Kentucky. You come here because it is the highest level of college basketball. So, you know, with everything, there's going to be the pros and the cons, like you said, with people probably trying to negative recruit against us. But the kids we recruit, the way Coach Cal recruits them and the staff recruits them, they understand what they're coming into and the expectations and everything that comes along with it. So, you know, it's something that he does a great job of laying out in front of them. And even when we were talking about, you know, the job and everything, he explained it to me too. So, you know, it's something that you kind of embrace, and it's something that you kind of want if you're a competitor.
Okay, Jerry Tipton, we'll come to you.
Yeah, Jay, I wonder with Dante and his shooting, how you would compare the way Mississippi State defended him and how much did Vandy, how different was the way Vandy defended him?
It's completely different because, you know, the sample size going into Mississippi State was so small. So, you know, you kind of probably maybe didn't even have him on the scouting report, depending on how many people you put on the scouting report. And then the difference with Vandy is whenever a guy hits 7 threes, he's going to be on the scouting report. You know, so each game, you know, his coverage and his stuff will become a lot harder for him to get shots and create shots. But, you know, the one thing about Dante and having him on the court is that you have to account for him. The defense has to know where he is, so it kind of opens the court up to do a little bit more and create driving lanes and, you know, eliminate people helping on the post and stuff like that. So, you know, that's one of the other bigger things about him being out there is his ability to just do that alone.
Thanks.
Larry Vaught, we'll come to you next.
Jake, could you talk about the progress that you're seeing from Devin Askew and where you think he still has the biggest area he can still get better?
I mean, you know, pound for pound, he's probably our hardest worker. You know, I put him and BJ in that same category. And I think the thing with Devin is that, you know, the transition from high school to college is a big leap, especially when you miss an extra year of high school. So, you know, it's just going to take a longer time for him to just understand how much the game changes and how fast it is. And, you know, with that gap, you lose a little bit, a year of maturity, a year of confidence of, you know, being able to dominate at a high school level. It gives you an extra, I guess, swagger that you get coming into college. And then when you come into college and you have struggles early, and you have to kind of reinvent yourself and reinvent your game, and that's kind of what he's done and he's continuing to do. And, you know, the biggest thing with him is just continuing for the game to slow down and him to see stuff, you know, that you need to see as a point guard. And he's getting better at it. It's just taking time. And, you know, it's expected. You know, he's a freshman. There wasn't any real true, you know, buy games where you kind of go through those things and get the extra kind of reps of seeing that stuff before you jump into the fire. And he was thrown into the fire early. And he's done a good job of, you know, continuing to work and really just trusting the process.
Do we have any other questions for Coach Lucas?